Rumble is the tip of spear, in my opinion, in terms of mass size. That's pushing and tilting the system back into place to the way we understood the internet to be. We're the tip of the spear. I really believe that, and we do things that other platforms don't, even when they claim that they're free speech. And I'm not sitting here and claiming Rumble is a free speech absolutist platform. It can't be because of the app stores. The app stores are guardrails.
Yeah.
If we want to reach the mass market, you have to abide by the app stores.
Yeah.
Period. So that's like one major guardrail. The other guardrail for other companies, which we do not have, and it's very unique to us in this system, is the cloud. Parler. We all know Parler. They got shut down after January 6th, based on the premise that, a lot of things were organized from Parler. But the facts of the matter is Facebook and other platforms participated far more than Parler, but they didn't get deplatformed like Parler did. So they got treated very unfairly in that situation. And the guardrail there was obviously the app stores were one problem, but the more important problem for them, the one that turned the lights out, the one that put them basically out of business from our perspective, is Amazon, AWS. They shut off the lights. They didn't know where to put the website. They couldn't find a host. They couldn't find a cloud provider.
Yeah.
This was like a major wake-up call for us at the time, because at the time, Rumble was running on bare metal. It wasn't using any of the incumbent cloud platforms, but it was running on bare metal. And bare metal is great because you're leasing servers, and you're kind of building on top of it, but it's not good enough. And I'll tell you guys a story that no one knows, and I'll tell it today.
All right.
Exclusive.
Yeah, a little exclusive here for the Fresh and Fit pod. But we were on bare metal, and that was good at the time. It was enough to sustain us through a period where no incumbent cloud platform can knock us out. We're distributed with multiple companies, multiple server companies, and we were able to survive on that basis at that point in time. But it became really apparent for us that that wasn't good enough, and that we needed to invest, we needed to get investment, and we needed to invest heavily in building our own cloud. And not only did I see it as existential for Rumble, I know it's existential. I'll give you this example that I've never told. Not only is it existential for Rumble to be on our own cloud, but I also felt there was a need for other companies like Parler or whatever it may be, whether it's a religious university that Amazon AWS doesn't agree with on a religious perspective, or whether it's a business that doesn't have the same values as Amazon AWS. So we decided to launch build a cloud that's not just for Rumble, the existential threat to Rumble, but for the greater public. And we launched it last week, which is a huge milestone. Rumble now doesn't have the guardrail of someone else telling us on an acceptable use policy at the host level. No one's turning the lights off anymore on Rumble. That's not happening. And now every business out there can have trust in a provider that won't turn the lights off on them based on some ideological or some opinion that someone might have, or some thought, or some any type of expression they might have. It's not gonna. We're going to be operating very differently than Amazon AWS, Google Cloud, GCP, and Microsoft Azure. So that did happen. But let me step back. I think, I'm just trying to remember the date. It might have been, I think it was July 4th weekend where we had...
This year?
It was, I think, 23.
Okay.
It could have been 22, actually. It might have been 22 or 23. It's either 23 or 22.
Yeah.
Where when was the Russia war? When did that start?
I think 21 it started.
So it's probably 22 then.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the dates. The time flies and dates get all mixed up in my mind.
Yeah. Or 22. I think it started February 2022.
Where
Yeah.
We actually, behind the scenes, and we already had a lot of infrastructure by this period kind of built out, where Rumble was sitting on its, had the available infrastructure in place, our own servers, the ones that we actually own and bought with our money. And we were setting up like a CDN, we were setting up like the cloud, we're setting it all up. And we get like a notice from, at the time, it was IBM saying they're shutting us down.
Wow.
That happened
Did
on,
they even say
on
why?
a July 4th weekend.
Did they even say why, or?
It was so brutal. They couldn't cite a policy. They didn't have a policy that we violated. We didn't violate anything. They were citing EU stuff, not American stuff. And, you know, at that point in time, it was it was all hands on deck that weekend, and it was like a miracle. Like all our engineers came on deck. We moved everything as much as we possibly could over to Rumble, the Rumble infrastructure, and we survived without even the lights going off for a second, because we just invested in the right place at the right time. And you know, it was way faster than I thought it was going to have to happen, but we did it, and it was like I remember I tweeted something on that weekend on July 4th, like this was the, you know, July 4th. It happened. We were literally, you know, we were defending and protecting freedom of expression more than anyone at that very moment, and our whole team was working overnight that whole weekend on July 4th weekend. And it's like a story that I hold very, very dearly to myself. And it's one that, you know, all the engineers that were behind that and getting that up, they're heroes. They're like heroes for doing that. And that happened behind the scenes. And now we're at a place where, you know, it's many years past that now. Now we have our own cloud. We're, you know, uncancelable. We were uncancelable at that moment too.
Yeah.
Which was great. But like, it was, you know, we didn't want to go 100% on our hardware at that point in time.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like we were trying to do it nicely.
And I think that's something that people underestimate, Chris, about you, is that like all the work that goes behind the scenes. I mean, daily there's articles criticizing you. Daily there's people saying terrible things about you. Daily they're trying to shut you down. Daily they're trying to tarnish your character, the business's company, the business's character, etc. Like, you know, we always say, you know, freedom of speech isn't free. Like, that's literally like the quintessential example. Like, people are constantly trying to come at you guys. How do you deal with that, man?
You know what? It's
because that's just one story. But I wish you guys knew some of the other stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Obviously, we're not going to talk about here.
People don't understand how much pressure Rumble gets on a daily basis.
You know what though? Like,
it's crazy.
I asked that question. Why did Mark Zuckerberg fold on all the things that he's folded on? I ask this question all the time, and you know, the answer to me is like pretty simple. It's pretty easy to be strong. I just think there's a lot of weak people right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm defending a human right.
Yeah.
Period. That should be pretty easy. For me, it's pretty easy. Why it's hard for everybody else, you know, that's a question we need to ask them. I'm happy defending that human right. It makes me proud. But, you know, the sad part is how many weak people there are out there not doing that and folding to like any type of criticism that they have. It just requires a little bit of strength, you know, and that's what this company, Rumble's built on. It's built on strength. It's built on pushing back. It's built on telling governments to, you know, pound sand.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at the Russell Brand situation. They sent you that letter, right? I remember you posted on X how when Russell Brand got canceled or demonetized, they asked you, hey, is Russell Brand monetized on Rumble? And they were trying to get him demonetized on Rumble as well. And you basically told them to go pound sand, which is huge because other platforms always bend the knee to governments. What's that like taking on governments? Because the UK isn't the only government that's come after you guys. I mean, obviously we've talked about France, Brazil, etc. What's that like, man?
So the UK situation was absurd. It was like,
sent you that letter, I remember.
Yeah, in, you know, an MP, I believe, I don't remember exactly, sent us a letter to say, hey, like, demonetize Russell Brand, do this, blah, blah, blah.
Crazy.
And I'm like, what law? What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Like, just because you say so?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work? And you know what this